Good afternoon. This is Gail of Gaia, and we have a very special guest calling in today. Her name is Jennifer of the Cosmic Jungle. Jennifer Galligan reads tarot cards intuitively, cleans negative energy from homes and land, and is a shamanic energy healer. She is proficient in the comprehension of the heart and Merkaba sciences, quantum science, self healing, manifestation, and the Birkeland currents, aka the electric universe. That's her calling in right now. Anyway, she is a student of life, as well as we all are, and wishes to share insights about her experiences and insights she has attained about what is taking place on Earth, in our bodies, and within our human consciousness. Jennifer, are you there?
I am here, Gail. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to have you on today. I just read your intro about that you're a tarot intuitive. You clear negative energy. You have shamanic
Yes.
energy healing. And I just went over all of that, so I was just saying it again. Anyway,
Huh.
one of the things that I'm actually very excited about is I know that you attended a seminar in New York City where there was a representative from Inner Earth. And we were going to talk about that today. So we're going to go off the beaten path and talk about things that some people might consider a little woo-woo, but I'm
Yes, they might consider it a little off there, but I'll tell you, it certainly isn't. It's really quite amazing, all of it. So this was the Agatha Symposium. It was the first time that Tamarinda Masan came to the United States, and she is the ambassador of Agatha, which Agatha is probably like the New York City of the inner Earth. So it's the biggest city.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a city. I was thinking that that was what they referred to Inner Earth as, Agartha.
Nope, Agartha is a place in inner Earth, and Telos is also a place in inner Earth. So there's some different things, and believe it or not, there's also a New Berlin in inner Earth, which is kind of new in a few different ways because it has been since the Nazis in the 40s. So
wow. Now this is the same place that Admiral Byrd toured. Is that not correct?
Yeah. Yes, it actually is the same place that Admiral Byrd went to. And what happened was he couldn't explain to people what it was because he didn't quite understand it himself either. And so a lot of people, especially the flat earth theory people, believe that Admiral Byrd went beyond Antarctica and saw more land and saw this and that. And what he really did was he went into the opening of the inner earth. And the reason that he was allowed to enter into the inner earth was because he didn't have an agenda. He wasn't there to harm anybody. He wasn't there. He was just there out of his own heart's curiosity, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And so they allowed him and felt that his presence was not a threat.
Curious minds want to know.
Exactly. And that's how they felt, that he was coming there as a curiosity and not as a harmful agenda. The harmful agenda would come later from the people that, in the government and such that wanted to get in there. So there's been a lot going on with this inner earth, and it's a concern for all of us on the outer earth that we protect the people of the inner earth, and they're also protecting us in a way, too.
Mm-hmm. How do we protect them?
We can protect them by, really standing strong about the behaviors of our government. Because in all reality, we need to take control back of the governments. They should not be controlling us. We should be controlling them. They are supposed to be serving humanity, not themselves.
Well,
So,
funny how that's changed over the years, isn't it? It's
yes,
been a slow, steady progress to be total self-serving from what was
yes,
supposed to be serving the people. Well, they forgot about the people, and now they're just serving themselves, I'm afraid. But anyway, some of us recognize that, and others don't. But hopefully, more people will get on board, and even if it just starts at the community level by becoming aware. So, what was the main reason that representatives from Inner Earth decided to come to Surface Earth in order to present whatever she wanted to present?
okay. First, let me tell you that they are here. They have already embodied themselves in this dimension, and they are a lot of our scientists and scholars in the colleges that are not allowing the colleges to,
Disclose this information?
yeah, and to continue the lies too. They're holding the truth, and so they work around whatever they can to make sure that the truth is, still remains as the foundation of all science and technology and things. So,
And
the
aren't
reason
there?
that
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, that's okay.
Oh.
I'll just say the reason that she's coming forth now is because the time is now. As you can see, what's going on the surface of the planet is a real problem in so many areas. We have the big issues with the weather, with the climate change. I'm not a believer in global warming. I'm actually a believer that we're headed into an ice age.
Oh yeah,
And,
I just I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but Edward Griffith just came out with a docu-series on an inconvenient lie.
Yes, isn't that something? I like it.
Yeah, I did too. Because sad part of it was I remember when the Inconvenient Truth first came out. I hate to say it. I mean, I thought it was the truth, but it wasn't the truth. And I'm proud to say I had a very astute and aware student who came up to me after showing the video to the class and indicated that, do you realize that was largely created for the purpose of resources to be generated from it based on a carbon tax? And I went, are you serious?
And thank goodness for your young people,
And,
right?
yeah, I love the young people that are astute and aware, and there are some out there, and they need to come forward. We need their help tremendously.
Yeah, some of them are probably Agarthan. Some of them are probably from the Inner Earth. And, they hold that level of consciousness. They hold that level of truth, and they can't be swayed. There's a lot of us on the planet right now that aren't going to be swayed. We have our inner truth, and nobody outside of us is going to shift the inner truth that's within us.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, because I do feel like that. People try to do that with me all the time. Well, that's not based on science, or that's not this, or that's not that. And I'm going, well, what makes you think that our science hasn't been hijacked as well?
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because I think that people that start bringing up the issue of science haven't really been paying attention to science lately.
I know, because, have you, thank you. Have you heard any of Greg Braden's stuff? I mean, his deep truth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So,
Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, they're definitely discussing the electric universe, the Birkeland currents, that flow of energy that goes through all of us all in the same moment.
I love both those guys. I'm going to have them on the radio here eventually. I hope to.
Oh, wouldn't it be grand? I met Greg Braden when I went to Peru. I met him right at Machu Picchu, actually.
Braden, you met? Greg Braden?
Yeah, I said, hey, that's Greg Braden. And my girlfriend looked and she says, wow, he's short.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, I said, yeah, he's just a little guy,
Oh, okay.
But a little guy with a very big mind, and
good things come in small packages, eh?
Yes, they certainly do. Yeah, he was a nice guy, and
He
And he
seems
was on a
genuine.
journey as well. He was on the same type of journey we were on, going to all the places that we were going, and we were taking the bus to Lake Titicaca, and he was taking the train to Lake Titicaca, and yeah, so it was interesting.
Wow.
Nice guy, though. Nice guy, and yeah, he's one of the people that I really feel people should be paying attention to. There's a lot of them that are really, thank goodness for these people that have helped us to, a lot of us had that awakened consciousness, but because we've been so
Program.
involved in this, in this program, we've thought, hey, gee, I think there's something wrong with me because like everybody else is thinking this, I'm thinking this.
Oh my God! I
And
can't tell you how many
see it.
times I've thought that myself. I really can't.
Yeah, since childhood, we came here with this, within us, and so we're the star seeds. We're the people that came here to shift the planet in this very moment that we're in right now. We were needed. We're like beacons of light, and that's why we're not all grouped together in one place, like having a grand party together, because we know what's going on. We're all in different places all over the planet, so that we can connect the grid of consciousness that awakens everybody. So, it's a tough road. It's lonely, and
Very
and it can
lonely.
be scary for you too when you're first going with it. But then once you really start to, gain your inner insights and really start to understand the level of everything, you kind of lose the fear. Now you don't care anymore. You don't care what anybody thinks. You don't care what anybody's saying. You don't care what anybody else is doing.
Exactly, and they're not going to change your
Yeah.
mind either.
No. Absolutely not. There's all of these things that are thrown up there, and we listen to all these, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, all these different people. Drunvalo Melchizedek's always been one of my favorites. And we listen to all these things, and we have to take all of the information that they give us and bring it in, and then we have to discern it. Because just because they're saying it doesn't mean it's true. And so we really need to be good discerners. We need to really be able to tap into our inner gut, to our consciousness is in the gut. And so when we feel sick or we feel kind of funny about something, we don't feel it in our brain. We feel it in our center where the heart and the gut is. That's where we feel things. When we worry, that's where we feel things. When something happens that's scary, our heart might, like people would say, it fell into my stomach. My heart fell into my stomach. All of this stuff had nothing to do with the brain. It all happened in the center, and then it sent the information to the brain for processing. So the brain is the processor, and if we want to think of ourselves as computers, then that's a great way to understand that. The information's all in the center.
Technically, in many ways, we are. We function much the same way.
We do. We're like a biological computer.
Exactly.
I just read us called something else, too, that was really interesting today, and I thought, wow, that's really true. I wish I had written it down, but I did not. But we are some type of a battery cell. Each one of us has this electrical energy within us that is crazy, crazy powerful.
And it's our signature, isn't it?
Yeah, and when we learn to use this energy, it's in the tiny space of the heart. And so, and this is something that wasn't discussed with Tamarinda Masan at the symposium either, that power within and the inner knowing and all of these things were discussed. But, I feel like there's a 0 point within the heart. Well, actually, I know because I've been there. And the monk that we were talking to there, he feels like the 0 point is at our feet, and he's right too. But I think there's one more place. There's more than one place for the 0 point, and everything of the universe and universes is contained within us. So all of the knowledge, all of the space, all of the everything. And talking about that, it brings up this thing about Tamarinda saying that Agartha, or the inner earth, is not a place, but it's a space. So everything that we're experiencing through our consciousness. And so therefore...
Could you try to explain that a little more? Because when you're talking about a a space, not a place. I'm sure people are going, what?
I know. I was too. I'm like,
I'm doing it a little bit
I'm like,
myself, but I'm trying to differentiate
right.
between the two.
Exactly. And I kind of get this, and I kind of got it like right at first, and then I kind of got a little bit more as she talked about it or whatever, and I'm still comprehending it. So,
Well, you know what's
so the
interesting?
best way,
Are you aware of Diva and Mitten Premal? They sing
um,
many different mantras and Sanskrit songs and so on. Anyway, they have an album out called "Love Is Space." And
yeah, I think they were talking about that. That is it a group or a person?
it's a couple and then a third guy. There's actually three of them that are involved in that are musicians. That their music is
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful.
yeah. They may have played some of the music there, and they were talking about it. And now that you got me thinking about what they did play for us there, one of the other things I want to mention is that someone recorded the crickets. And what they did was because, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the crickets keep time. And so, which is very interesting, but that's a whole other subject we're not going to get into. But they do keep time. And so, what someone decided to do was record the crickets, and then they slowed down the sound and found that the crickets were actually singing a symphony. You can find it probably on YouTube,
Are you
online.
serious? Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And you know who else sings a symphony is the dolphins and the whales. The
Now
whales they
that I
sing a
can
symphony.
believe. That I can believe because they
Yeah,
make some
they
incredible
do.
sounds. They're highly intelligent, and I
Yes,
cannot believe that there are still people on this earth that actually will go so far as to kill them.
yes, and you know what's sad to know is that the dolphins and the whales consider us to be their brothers and sisters. So if anybody can really comprehend that, it's very true. We've come from them in a way past ancient time. We come from the Dogon, um, and
Well, you know, the American Indians have always said that the animals are our brothers and sisters, and that's the way we should be perceiving them, and that's the way we should treat them.
that's right. That's right. They're sentient beings. They have
And
consciousness. They have emotions.
they've
They
always
have
been
fear.
closer to the earth than your average. Um, the
Yes.
Aborigines are
They,
always close to the earth, and they
yes.
always seem to get slaughtered because of it.
That's right.
Unfortunately.
They get it. They understand it on a level that we can't comprehend.
Exactly.
So,
It reminds me of the movie Avatar because they were trying to portray that in that movie quite a bit.
yeah, Avatar is a really, really important movie for our time.
I'm waiting for the
Um,
second one to come out.
yeah, that'll be interesting. I hope it's as good as the first, or it brings us a little bit further than the first. This is a great way to explain to people what the inner Earth is like. So, if you want to look at Agartha, if you want to look at Avatar, and then you do start to understand through the movie of Avatar that they're actually putting themselves in an avatar body so that they can go to another dimension. So that's what the inner Earth is. It's another dimension.
So we're talking about in an interdimensional space instead of a
yes,
place.
yes,
That would
yes,
explain it a little bit more.
exactly. And so if you look at what was happening and how, that was a very peaceful place, and everything was connected to everything, and the great tree of wisdom and the tree of life was everything about their rooting in their world. And so that's why he got himself into so much trouble when he first got there. The things were going after him. He was killing things, and he wasn't supposed to be harming anything. But the things there knew that he wasn't of there, and that's why they attacked him. He didn't have any, notion to know what was going on there. So it's a very, very good. I think it's what actually Avatar was representing. I honestly do, and which it brings us to the subject of, how a lot of this stuff happened, like after Admiral Byrd and, with the World War II and the Montauk Project, which actually was the Philadelphia experiment. But when they sent the ship, now this is a documented thing. So if people don't believe that there's time travel and they don't believe that we can shift through dimensions and things, then they really need to understand the Philadelphia experiment, which is a documented experiment that the government did. Now, what happened was they sent these men in this ship from the 40s during the World War II time into another dimension. But all they were really trying to do was they were working with stuff they didn't really know a lot about, and they were trying to make the ship disappear so that they could actually go into enemy places with their ships in the ocean, and they could attack and be unseen so that you couldn't see the ship. So it was like they were trying to make themselves invisible.
Exactly.
Well, in the interim of trying to make themselves invisible, they sure did, and they sent these men to 1983. Now, when they arrived in 1983, the Montauk experiment, which had already started back in the 40s, knew, and I'm not even sure that they weren't even expecting that. But I'm not, sure about that because I'm still learning a lot about this, and it's very overwhelming, and there's a lot to understand, and the government's so dirty. Oh wow, is the government dirty? But anyway, so they sent this ship, and now the Montauk Project, they're dealing with it or whatever, and they're like, well, we've got to send this ship back. It's got to go back to the 40s. Well, what ended up happening was it was murder, because these men go back and they did it in such a way that, because they didn't know what they were doing, they're shifting dimensions. Now these men ended up as part of the ship. So they were men came back, and they were in the ship. They were part of the ship. They weren't.
I saw those pictures, someone cut in half. Only the half of them's in the ship and half of them's outside of the ship.
Right, and so obviously they died. And then the other men that weren't encased in the physicality of the ship, they lost their minds. They didn't know what was going on. It was all, just they were absolutely loony.
And of course, they didn't explain anything to them either, I'm sure.
And of course, I don't even know what level of capacity they had, but you want to think that electromagnetically their minds were erased, probably, is what it's kind of, I'm only guessing that, but I think that because we're electrical beings,
right.
And that's why, right today in 2017, none of us really know where we came from. We don't know the history of the truth about ourselves and all of this, and it's because we had some type of an electromagnetic situation in the past that erased our minds. And so we're relearning still what it is that we're doing here, what our purpose is for being here, who we really are. It's definitely not, you're born here, you live this life, and then you die, and then it's over. There's no death. There's definitely no death, not for anybody. And so, really, this is just one of our experiences that we are having in our eternal lives. And we have had many, and we will have many more. We've been here all along, and we'll be here, it goes both ways, just eternal, in both directions. So, it's very, very interesting. I mean, we can look at, when things first started to become conscious and all of that, but, that's just, and who knows when that happened, that, and the Big Bang, that's all the big, what that really is, I mean, isn't what people think it is, and so, but Duncan Cameron was one of the guys on the...
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so Duncan Cameron, he, I saw him a couple of weeks ago, and for a man that was in the 40s, he looks like he's in his 60s. I believe he's in a new body. I don't, some people can't comprehend that I'm saying this, but I believe that he's in a new embodiment with the same consciousness. Now,
Like a walk-in, maybe?
No, I
No.
think that they just, know how to
Revamp.
create new embodiments.
So
I
you're
really
saying
do.
that he's 60, but he looks 40. Is that correct? Or is he 40 and looks 60?
No, he's from the 40s.
Oh, okay.
And I'm guessing that if he was in this project in the 40s, he must have at least been in his 20s, right?
Right,
and so
right.
Then I wonder if I have. He had Duncan Cameron, realitywalker.com. Realitywalker.com. Some people can learn some more about him. He's supposed to be doing something in Kentucky, and there's Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, I guess, is an entrance to the inner earth.
In Kentucky?
Yeah. And there's also another entrance to the inner earth at 33rd Street subway station in New York City. And I'm not going to, don't quote me on this, but I believe that there's one under Mount Shasta. I'm thinking there's probably one under Machu Picchu. There's, of course, one in Romania.
Shambhala?
And there's a Sphinx in Romania. A lot of people don't know that there's a Sphinx in Romania, but there is. So there's an entrance to the inner earth under the Sphinx in Egypt. And Egypt, Iraq, and Romania are all connected through tunnel systems and stuff. So, I mean, this stuff is just so mind-blowing. And the technologies that they found in Iraq is why Iraq got attacked. Because Iraq, they were doing something in Iraq, and when they found this space, if you will, way underneath the ground where this technology was, they could see Romania, the situation in Romania, and they were like, whoa, what's going on? So, it's really involved. I don't even know if I can go there with it, but I will tell you this. They're all connected. We have underground tunnels all over this planet. And
I've heard that before.
Yeah, they're all over the planet. It's incredible. And I'm not even talking about the inner earth. I'm talking about like kind of that outer part of the inner earth. So,
which would explain if it's a space, not a place, because if the tunnels, they've also talked about flooding some of these tunnels, like the ones in, because there are nefarious beings in some of these tunnels, or so it's been said.
Yeah, and it's funny you say nefarious because it makes me think of the Nephilim. They kind of start with the same letters.
Maybe those words are connected.
Yeah, and this is all, part of all of this. It's really quite an incredible thing. Now, Peter Moon, and people should pay attention to this name, Peter Moon. I'll give some information on him about where you can contact him. But he has written a lot of books with people from Romania on the history of all of these things. Preston Nichols, which Preston Nichols is someone that, can talk about, the traveling in time. Dr. David Anderson is a time travel researcher. I mean, these are guys who are involved with the government, though. They're not like just these guys off the street saying, hey, yeah, I think that, we're time traveling and this is going on. No. These people have actual evidence and documentation and have signed papers stating that they're not allowed to discuss a lot of this stuff.
Well, what happens is as soon as there's somebody that has knowledge of something of that nature, they're basically hunted down and pretty much enter agreements under duress.
That's right. And if they don't enter the agreements, then we all know what happens.
Exactly.
They can kill you, but they can also keep you alive and do things like ruin your career, ruin your life, ruin your everything, and make it so that you can't even
function,
live, and function. Exactly. And a lot of other things. I mean, the memory erasing and things like that. Now, Duncan Cameron said that he spent a lot of time in the second dimension. which was very upsetting because he said he dealt with a lot of stick figure people. And of course, when you first go, and he would get shot into this dimension through these, techniques, these weird, techniques, and I think, the majority of it's psychological because they're sending you to these places through your mind mostly. And then they got into the heavier stuff where they're actually sending people's bodies. And so, and some people can just naturally time travel, and because they're time travelers, and they're here at this time, and they time traveled here or whatever. So,
yeah, I read that story about Baron Trump being a time traveler. Isn't that something?
Yep, he certainly is. And he talked about, or should I say, in the book that's in the Library of Congress, people should check these books out, The Marvelous Adventures of Baron Trump and The Last President. These books in the Library of Congress were written in the 1800s, and people should read them because they are showing us what's going on today. I mean, it's the stuff, the information in them is too uncanny. There's no way this writer back then could have written these things not knowing what it was of today. So, yeah, it's that kind of information that you can't dismiss it. You can't. Especially like in The Last President where, it's talking about how there's a new president in the United States and there's a big, split between all the people. And now, again, this was written in the 1800s.
And I have never seen any president get as much criticism as the current one. Oh, my goodness. I mean, he can't look sideways without somebody saying something negative about him.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Exactly. The man is just in such... I hope he's able to protect himself because the people are just throwing these energetic daggers at him constantly. I mean, can the man sleep? I don't know. But in this book, it's talking about how, all the people were in this uproar and they're protesting and all of this. And it says they're protesting in New York City. The address of where they were protesting in this book from the 1800s was actually the address of Trump Tower.
Oh, yeah. That's just uncanny.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's just, you can't make this stuff up.
That's amazing.
Pretty interesting.
So what else did we get? What was the main gist of the symposium as to, or advice to humanity in terms of what we can actually do?
Well, they said we're being inundated with parasites, and we must get our immune systems up to par.
Now, are you talking about physical parasites?
Yeah.
Are you talking about mental parasites, or I guess maybe it doesn't...
I'm talking about all of the parasites, no matter how you want to look at it, physical, emotional, mental, demonic, however you want to see a parasite.
Mm-hmm.
But especially, obviously, they're eating us alive. So on a physical level, we don't want this taking place.
Where are we getting this from? Was it indicated where the parasites are coming from?
The parasites came from the Montauk Project when, I think we've always had a level of whatever. But the thing is what happened was when they started screwing with our dimension, they sliced a hole in our dimension, which allowed all these parasites to come in and, make a breeding ground here. And, of course, they've chosen humans, they've chosen animals. We're probably getting the worst of it in a lot of ways, but the animals are really starting to get it too. Lyme disease is a real big problem. It's a real big one. It's global. People don't realize it. It's not just in the U.S., it's not just in New England. It's global, and it's one of the worst situations we've got going on here. They, are messing with our minds, our organs, our nerve centers, our nerve sheaths, the sheaths that we have that protect our nerves.
Oh, the myelin sheath.
In the brain, the heart, and my fiance, he was like, he's evidence of that with the heart because he got a third-degree heart block from Lyme disease. He almost died from it, and a lot of people are being going in with these, on the verge of a heart attack or having a heart attack and all these things, and it's actually Lyme disease, and the doctors don't know this. And not only do they not know it, but they don't even want to know. They don't even want to know.
Well,
I
that's
think that
sad.
the heart
And they call themselves healers.
Yeah, well, they're not
Or
really
drug
our
pushers.
healers of today. They're not. They're false healers because they're using false medicine.
Yeah.
And they're using false thought processes. And it's funny when you go to the doctor and you say, geez, I think I have parasites. They're like, oh, did you go to another country? And it's like, no, they're all over the planet. What do you mean, did I go to another country? You think the parasites just only live over there in that country?
Exactly.
And so it's really strange how they think, and this is how they've been taught to think in school.
I also, speaking of parasites, there was this one picture on Facebook just, a couple days ago, and it had some fish fillets there, and there was literally a worm-type parasite crawling out of this fillet of fish, and a woman goes to the store manager or the meat manager or whatever and says, oh, do you see this? Look at that. And he goes, oh, that's normal. I'm going, the audacity to say that that's normal is just unbelievable.
Yep, I'm going to assume that it might have been a piece of cod. Cod have worms, and you got to pull them out. And I know it's really creepy and it's crazy, but it's true.
I sure the heck wouldn't eat it. I'd see one of them, and that'd be it. That that sort of builds the case for giving up meat, because I'm sure that you get many more parasites from meat than you would anything else, because the animals are getting it. So if you're eating the animals, you're going to be getting it. And if you're not doing something to kill those parasites, and it's not easy to kill parasites. I think one of the simplest ways is to use diatomaceous earth on a regular basis.
Yeah, and Tamarinda also said that really we should be eating a ton of garlic every day. That's what she recommended. She said get some initial things done, like the rice treatments. She definitely believes in rice.
What do you mean,
There's
rice?
no doubt about it. That is a technology that was advanced.
What are you talking? Wait a minute.
So
what kind of treatment? I'm not. I didn't follow.
RISE, the rice machines.
Oh,
never heard of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're talking frequency.
Yes, I am.
Frequency
Everything
healing.
frequency.
Yeah.
Everything is
Yeah,
frequency.
the AMA put him out of business 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
With Tesla. They did it to Tesla, too.
Mm-hmm.
And Willem Reich, also because he came up with the piezoelectricity. And these are all the things that they don't want us to have. They don't want us to know about.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping so many things from us, and the technologies that we can access as multidimensional beings can only be accessed through the heart. So if we were to access these powers that I'm talking about through the heart, that means that we can only use them for good, if that makes sense. So all of these outer technologies, they have been using for ill. So these aren't heart technologies, obviously. These are some type of, other technologies outside of that. So if we can learn to access, the heart and the technology and the Akashic record and the all of the information that's within us, then we don't need these outer technologies. We can just manifest anything at will. Anything at will. Like, for instance, I laughed because Tamarinda said that a lot of the people from the inner earth that are out here right now in the colleges and universities and things, she said that when they come back to, Agatha, they want, a big juicy cheeseburger. and because they got used to these foods on the outer earth and like, oh, that tastes so good. She said, but there, all they have to do is manifest it. So it's not like you have to go through the process of anything. You don't actually have to raise the animal and kill the animal and then slaughter it and then cut it all up and then package it or cook it and all these things. You just say, I want a cheeseburger, and then there it is. So you have instantaneous manifestation in the fifth dimension and beyond.
And we're supposed to be headed in that direction. Is that not correct?
Yeah, we are definitely headed in that direction. And as a matter of fact, we have no choice.
What's holding us up? What's holding people up? Ignorance?
Actually, the Earth already shifted into the fourth dimension. She had to make another overlay because we didn't make it on time. So right now, we're actually all in the fourth dimension, but we believe that we're in the third dimension. So that's kind of what's going on right now. And it also has to do with this Montauk stuff and everything, too. I mean, what a mess they made by causing a time loop. And so because we move in a spiral, not in a loop. We don't move in a circle. We move in a spiral. And so they just created this time loop, and it's just created such a disaster. And the slices, and a lot of people have probably heard this before, that there's been slices in our dimension, and this is what's allowed these other beings to get in, and these are the dark ones, and they have a very high frequency, and it's higher than the third dimensional people, and this is so they're smarter than us. The parasites are smarter than we are, and we need to get smarter than them, and so yeah, and it is all about frequency. Now, Peter Moon, he talks about, there's a guy, Douglas Dietrich, and he's a former research librarian at the Department of Defense, and he started sharing...
What's his name again?
Documents.
Say his name again.
His name is Douglas Dietrich.
Dietrich?
Yep, which is Dietrich.
Okay. I wanted to be sure I had that right.
He was ordered to destroy all kinds of documents, like the true politics behind World War II, the continuation of the Japanese hostilities after 1945, which resulted in a manned and armed super dirigible crashing at Roswell in July 1947. I'm reading from Peter Moon right now, and the purposeful creating of a UFO myth by the Office of War Information. So, let's see, he also shares information about the renegade Fourth Reich and its involvement in the Antarctic as well as the secret space program. And you know what's interesting, too? Here we've got Pizzagate and Pedogate going on right now, where they're really starting to, find all these people that are like, oh, my gosh, these people are all pedophiles, and they've been harming our children for many years and doing all these awful things. Mm-hmm. And it says here that one of Dietrich's most fascinating and detailed threads has to do with him blowing the whistle on the Presidio sex abuse scandals of the 1980s that were perpetrated upon young children who identified Colonel Michael Aquino and his wife Lilith as the abusers, and were even able to give a well-defined description of their home in San Francisco. And although one man was convicted, the Army refused to pursue charges against the Aquinos under the justification of national security. Doesn't it kind of sound like what we're going through now with, like, Hillary Clinton and everything? I mean, she's all involved in this with the Clinton Foundation, yet it's national security, so she's protected? I can't go with this. And
well,
so,
none of them, all of them. Look at the body count that's associated with the Clintons, and then you have the Bushes and as well, and you know that they're criminals, and yet they still walk free.
That's right. They still walk free, but if anybody's noticed, they're all dying. They're all sick, all of them. Mm-hmm. Bill Clinton's sick, Hillary Clinton's sick, the Bushes are on their way out. We've Henry Kissinger's gone, Margaret Thatcher's gone.
Kissinger? Did you say Kissinger's gone?
Yeah, I believe Kissinger died.
He did?
I thought he did.
Oh, well, maybe he did. I don't know. I missed it. I would have been celebrating. It's not a man that I have any respect for. But anyway.
Unless I suffered part of the Mandela effect.
No, you could be right. I might have missed it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
good.
So,
The
and
really dark-hearted ones are on their way out, and that's a good thing. They need to
yes,
be
yeah,
because they're holding the entire planet down, and they're holding it by hostage, really. Um,
exactly. They're weighing us down.
yes.
They're weighing us down. Um,
So,
so it's just interesting that I mean, that was back in the '80s. So the thing about the you know pedophiles, and here we are. Here we are again, and this is really big and it's growing. And so I think that those are always seeds. They're always seeds that start some level of change, and then you see it later.
well, I think part of what the problem with is, this Clinton Foundation has resources and donations from probably every government or government official practically on the planet, and
Not anymore. Did you
so
know that?
and they
Did
have.
you know what's happening?
Pardon?
Did you know that it's no longer? As soon as Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, not one more donation came into the Clinton Foundation after that. Not one more, which goes to show you that the people that were donating to the Clinton Foundation were actually buying favors.
Were what?
They were buying favors because they thought she was going to win.
Oh, yeah. And the fact of the matter is, I think the reason that they haven't taken the Clintons to task on that is that they have dirt on everybody. And,
Oh, yeah.
And they, if they're going down, they're saying they're taking everybody with them. So
Yep.
it's kind of,
That's right.
That's
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to decipher a lot of this because a lot of these well-meaning politicians that got into politics.
Are they really well-meaning, though? Are they really, in their heart, well-meaning?
I think some of them are because there's always a dark and light in everything. So there's always the good guy and there's always the bad guy because we're in a dual reality. So no matter how you want to look at it, whether it's the government, whether it's your neighborhood, whether it's your school system, no matter whether it's your state government, it doesn't matter because there's always a dark and a light in there. And so you got well-meaning politicians that get into this, and now don't forget, Darth Vader was a good guy once.
Yeah, they may start out with good intentions, but get led astray very quickly, or get put into. Have you ever heard of the honeypots and things like that of that nature, where they trick people into situations that are definitely compromising? And
they do. They drug them, and then they put them in compromising positions, like, say, in bed with two little girls or something like that, and be like, well, if you say anything or don't do what we want you to do, then you're going to be exposed for this, and you'll go to prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, they've used all kinds of different techniques. They even use mind-washing techniques. So they can also put memories into you that aren't real.
Isn't that amazing that they have the technology to do these things, and yet there are people that would actually, like they're okay with the idea of having a chip put in them. I'm going, you don't realize what you're... Yeah.
It's funny what some people will do. I mean, they're talking about, like, doing it, like, with welfare recipients. Like, well, if you want welfare, then you're going to have to get a chip. Now, that's the silliest thing I ever heard. Like, if you think that it's worth getting welfare to let them program you with a chip, I don't know. But
yeah, it's also a way of taking advantage of someone that doesn't have the resources to fight back.
Exactly.
And they always do that sort of thing. That always happens. They put people in compromising positions, financially compromising positions as well.
Right. That's right. And it's like an allowance, all right? So in other words, what they've done, because they've already chipped us. I mean, most people should know that. They've done it through the vaccines, and they spray chemtrails and all of this stuff. We're breathing in. This stuff's nano. I mean, we can't see it. And so what has happened is that it's illegal, universally, it's illegal to do these types of things to a species or a being without their permission. So what they're trying to do by the chipping thing, and now is get your permission. Get your, because otherwise they're not supposed to be using these technologies against us. But parasites don't care anyway, and so like when you were talking about what type of parasites, that's really something that we really have to consider, is that there's all these different levels of parasites. There's all different kinds, and so there's big ones, little ones, there's nano ones, and so, and this all has to do with the immune system. So a heightened immune system, a very healthy, heightened immune system, won't have the parasite problem. They'll be able, like, their body will automatically attack and kill, and because their immune system's up. Now, what they did, and I know that this is a big thing with people, and some of them don't want to believe it, but what they did was they poisoned our children, us and our children, with vaccines, and these vaccines harmed our immune system. They harmed our lungs. They harmed our immunity. They attack other different areas. Everybody's different.
Oh, it's just like the GMO foods and the glyphosate. They are destroying our our gut bacteria that is good for us, that is necessary for us to be able to make certain neurotransmitters and so on. And it affects our mental state as well as our physiological state. And so those are serious problems right there. It's altering our DNA, and people just they don't want to believe it, but it's true, and it's happening. And glyphosate needs to be banned. GMOs need to be banned. People need to get on detox programs, including parasite detox, and make some serious changes in their diet to lessen the toxic load that they're getting, because if you don't take care of that temple, how are you going to be able to manifest things with your mind when it's like trying to get clean dishes out of dirty dishwater?
Yeah. And I mean, and think about this for a minute, and if people can also wrap their mind around this, your leaders, the people that have led us astray, the people that have brought us into these dark times that, are harming our immune systems and things, think about the fact that they are infested with parasites. The parasites know where to go to produce their programs. So they infiltrate into these leaders, if you will, and like I said, they're really smart. They're brilliant. They're technologically brilliant. And obviously, they are, if they can get into our embodiment the way that they do. And so now you've got the minds of so-called leaders that are mush minds. They're all being controlled by a parasite.
And they don't even realize it.
They want to say sometimes the reptilians and different things like that. Hey, however you want to look at it, it doesn't really matter. The reptilians are probably being, because there's good ones and bad ones of them too, and they're probably being infiltrated by all of this too. And who knows why they got wiped out or how they got wiped out, I mean, originally. I don't know the consciousness.
Or do they go around, or do the Dracos go around wiping out everybody else, exploiting the planet, exploiting all the resources, exploiting the people, and then when they're done with it, they just blow it up or take off and go move on to the next one. Exactly. Very much like Star Wars, which I think is always fascinating, how things sometimes appear in the movies as predictive programming.
Yeah, and some of it's predictive programming, and some of it is the person writing the films maybe tapping into something, a sort of information that it probably happens to you, Gail. It happens to me all the time. A topic gets brought up or a subject gets brought up, and all of a sudden I get a download, and I have to start writing because I'm getting all this information. I have no idea where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. I mean, but the topic or the subject gets brought up, and it's like a trigger, and then it triggers.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. It's like a trigger or something like that too, and then all of a sudden I might start researching something madly, I'm going, oh my God, it's like a light bulb goes on and things start showing up.
And then you start doing it, and you gather all this information from inside of you and also, from outer aspects of you, like maybe this book or that video, and you start like piecing it all together, then you start to see, oh my gosh, this is a piece of the puzzle that I needed for this part over here, and then this connects to this, and you're like networking yourself with information that all connects to all the other information, and that's how you start to be able to stand back as an observer of what's happening on this planet or the cosmos, and you're able to see it from a different perspective. You can see it from a higher perspective and see how all these things are linking together. But you go out on the main street and you tell somebody about this stuff, and they're going to think you're an absolute nut job. They don't have any comprehension of any of this.
Isn't that amazing? That is one of the most frustrating things I run into sometimes is, people really need to have an open mind, And
they won't. They just refuse. They learned it in school, and they don't need to know what you have to say because they learned it in school. And
major
little does
cognitive
everybody
dissonance.
know, higher education is an absolute fraud. All of it. Even the math, because we're being taught 3D math. We're not being taught quantum math. One of the things I learned that I thought was really interesting, too, she's talking about math. She's like, in 3D, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Like, that's in our level of, mathematical thinking. But in reality, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 43. Because 2 or 43 is action. So the 2 is action. It's really weird, but this is the type of stuff that we have to learn, to comprehend.
And then there's the science element too. I was reading or listening to Greg Braden about how much of our science is not correct, especially physics.
No, it's not. It's almost like it's the opposite of what they've taught us.
In just about every single field.
Yeah. Yeah, in every field, in science, in medicine, in education. They're teaching us backwards. It's so backwards. And that's why we've been in this time loop, in this,
That's why we haven't progressed either. I mean, we're being held down, and it's only people that are willing to open their mind to other possibilities and to look at things that they have been programmed against looking at in order for anything to evolve and change.
That's right. Like conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists, they drilled it into everybody's head. Oh, that's a conspiracy theorist. He's crazy. Well, the thing is, a conspiracy theorist isn't a crazy person. It's just someone that is researching conspiracies that are actually real.
Yeah. That was a term that was coined by the CIA in order to use it against people, in order to discredit anyone from whatever they were saying. You just call them a conspiracy theorist, and then all of a sudden they lose all their credibility. Even when the conspiracy is factual. So I like to think that there are more people that are waking up to that fact. I like to think that anyway. But when it comes right down to it, on the symposium, what kinds of things can we do, like you or I or anyone else who is at least open-minded to these kinds of things? What can we do to help move this along?
Well, certainly we want to keep an open mind, and I'm just going to recommend to people that they start to learn about their higher consciousness. They start to learn about the heart consciousness. Stanford University has done the heart math. If anybody can take a heart math class, they would gain an awful lot by it. If anybody can go take the Awakening the Illuminated Heart class by John Melchizedek, there's teachers all over the planet that teach this. And you definitely want to get into cleansing. You definitely want to get into cleansing. So that's drinking purified water, alkaline water, to start juicing if people can, get into this or whatever. Keep your juices separate, though. Juice with vegetables in one juice drink and juice with another juice drink. You don't want to mix your fruits and vegetables together because then they ferment inside you, and so you don't want that to happen. Really, people should get into some cleansing. You can just go. To a vitamin store, an apothecary, and get a good cleansing. You know, you can ask the people there, hey, what's a good one?
Excuse me, Jennifer. Is that my phone beeping, or is that yours?
It was actually mine. Sorry about that. It was my son trying to call in. He didn't realize I was on. Okay. So people definitely want to do a cleanse. I recommend a good 30-day cleanse. Some people can't handle it, so try and maybe start with a 3-day cleanse or a 7-day cleanse. They've shrunk some of them.
I believe in gentle daily cleanses. Are you familiar with the Daka Detox? I think he leads people in a pretty good way. I noticed that we're running out of time. I'm getting the high sign.
Yes. We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. How does that happen?
In the top of the hour. We probably didn't even cover a quarter of what. Of what could have covered.
Well, I want to cover more. So, and one of the things that I might be able to do is we might be able to call. I might be able to do a pre-recorded session so that we don't have to wait till another Thursday, and then maybe I can get ahead of the game a little bit that way. But anyway, I will stay in touch with you, Jennifer. And this is Jennifer of the Cosmic Jungle, and you are on Facebook. And
yes, I am.
Will you be posting any of the things that you found out at the symposium? I'm
planning on doing a show myself, but I'm converting over from Blog Talk Radio to Zoom, I think, and so I'm kind of in that interim of how am I going to...
Yeah, Zoom is nice. Zoom is real nice.
Busy.
It works well, and it records automatically for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, and then people can look at you, and you want people to be able to look at you because then they can read your energy, and they can tell that, you're a legitimate person, and you're not, because people are able to tell a lot of times of your integrity and your sincerity by being able to look at you while you speak.
Uh-huh.
And, some people can hear it through your frequency, too, but some people like both, and so whatever that is, I think that I might switch over to Zoom, and I just got to kind of learn and fiddle around with that a little bit. Then I will cover more of this.
Yeah, I just like being able to go to the computer and not have to worry about, what your hair looks like or what you got on or anything like that. So, anyway.
I agree with that, too.
But anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming on and explaining everything that we did manage to get through, and we'll have to do this again. Because I think there may be additional information that we may have missed in this short hour. So
yes, we need to talk about Hitler. So because it's very, very interesting how that all came about and who he really was and all of that. So because it matters. And so yes, it'd be great to get back together again with you, even if we do a little podcast type thing, or if you want to wait till another show, that's up to you. But
maybe we'll do a Zoom together.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll be in touch with you, and we'll do that, and then we'll get it on the radio.
Okay, that would be great. And hey, everybody out there, keep your mind open because things aren't as they seem. And once you start to open your mind and look from a different perspective, you will start to see these things, and I guarantee it.
I couldn't agree more, and this is Gail of Gaia and Jennifer of the Cosmic Jungle, and we are signing off, and we will get back together with you again sometime. You have a beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.